Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
We were gone last week. Thanks for noticing.
Some of us were gone. Some of us were here wishing we were gone.
Well, we were gone from recording, but Todd and I were independently yet together on vacation.
That's right.
We were both realized we were going to the same place, so we met up in the most magical place on Earth. Or the most crowded and expensive place on Earth, depending on how you look at it.
Can something be both? I guess it can.
Well, it is. Everyone's sort of bitching about Disney now with all these. There are new ways for them to make money. I don't care. All I know is I'm not going back in March, but it's just too crowded. I've been there, and I think I got an accurate count. I think I've been there 18 times.
Wow.
And that is over a 50-year span, as frightening as that is. And I feel like I've been there every time of the year. This is by far the most crowded. And I get it. It's not only is it spring break, it's everyone's sort of unleashed from pandemic and going out. So that's
I think that's got a lot to do with it too. I think there's a lot of pent up. But oh my God, it was. And Saturday at Universal was insane.
I didn't want to say it. I'm like, I can't. You knew what we went through Thursday and Friday, and then you were going to Universal on Saturday. I can just imagine.
It was because it's narrower. Everything is narrower. Okay, you don't have as wide paths to walk through, and it felt like twice as many people.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, and Universal is, at least from what I've heard from people who've been there recently, is kind of known for like not limiting the number of people that are in there, not like managing crowds well. So you know,
the thing that's crazy is we drove and parked in the parking lots. It's worth the extra money to do premium parking, by the way. We were in the front every time, but
if only to be able to bring crap to your car.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, we're in the middle of the day, we're park hopping, so we drove from one park to the other. And there are like 50,000 spots still left, yet there are 3-hour lines in the park we're at. So like, is this parking lot ever filled up? Is Hollywood Studios are they ever filling this parking lot? And then what are the lines? Because some of the waits were just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of them were
I've never seen it in all the times I've been there.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that more later, so I'm very interested to hear all about your experience.
Yeah, so we can talk about that later. But we're also going to talk about Star Trek. Good and bad, perhaps, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are 2 Star Treks out right now.
And hope for the future.
That's right.
Yeah,
for the third Star Trek.
Can't be any way but up. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Let's go random. Barry, I know you have one.
Sure. Speaking of Star Trek, so this got announced while you guys were out of town, but they just announced, and this is a little odd that they're announcing this early, but they're announcing that for Strange New Worlds, which hasn't even premiered yet, that season 2 they've cast somebody to play Kirk. So now I guess we officially know there is a season 2. I'm not sure if they had announced that prior, but
they had, yeah.
Okay, so definitely a season 2, and you've got to get all through season 1, and they're already promising us Captain Kirk. And it's an actor named Paul Wesley, who's I guess from the Vampire Diaries. I don't know, Dave.
Yes,
do you
I've
know
seen
him?
every episode.
Is he good?
He's got a good look, I think.
He does. I got to say, and he's got to be a little bit younger, Kirk, and he's got to be, I think, based on everything they've said, we are probably either 5 or 6 years away from Kirk taking over the Enterprise. So, if they want to stay to canon, they said that, Kirk previously said that he only met Christopher Pike once. It'd be interesting to see how they do this. So,
and he is a captain. So, the reason we saw the picture that they released. I saw somewhere else there were leaked pictures. That's, I think, why they probably jumped on this.
I was wondering if that photo was photoshopped his head.
That's what
on
I thought.
That body, but because he's in full Starfleet uniform in that picture.
Yeah.
There's another picture of him that looks like it was taken not like whether it was not supposed to be taken or whatever, but him talking to a female crew person, and that was definitely, I think that was sort of the leaked picture that they jumped on. So good for them. I mean, you got to jump on it, but he's definitely wearing captain stripes.
There's okay, just to run through the possibilities here. Okay, he could be captain of his previous command.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Could be a time travel thing. Okay, could be.
I hope it's not time travel. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah, I kind of do. But
we don't need that.
But it's interesting. I would love to see a younger, greener Kirk, and just in command of a lesser vessel, or whatever, or maybe they bring him in for a couple episodes while Pike's doing something else, a la Captain Jellicoe, and
I hope they just run across him out in the world there. I mean, I don't think we need to see atomic.
He was captain of the Farragut before he was on the Enterprise, right? Isn't that canon?
I don't know that he was captain of the Farragut. I know he served in the Farragut. In novels they have his first. They've written about his first command, but he was previously on the. I'm trying to think of what it was. He was on 2 ships that were mentioned in the series, and the Farragut was the second one. He was and I think he got command of the Enterprise based on his heroism on the Farragut. But God, I can't think of what the first ship was.
Shatner did tweet to him saying, "Did you see that?" He's tweeted to Paul Wesley saying, "Take care of my crew and my ship."
Yep.
So cool. They had to run it past him because I'm sure he was lobbying to play the younger Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, since you mentioned Shatner, today is his 91st birthday.
Oh my God, the guy can't stop. You got to like him more and more every year.
91.
Yep.
Crazy. That is crazy.
Yep.
Good for him.
Todd, what do you got?
So, kind of the same thing. If you go to the GQ website, or it's actually linked a number of other places. I found it on Geek Tyrant. There's a really cool video with a woman named Dr. Kathleen Lewis, who has probably the coolest job I can imagine, and definitely, Dave, one of the coolest jobs you can imagine. She is the curator of international space programs and spacesuits at the Smithsonian.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a interview with her, and where she basically breaks down a bunch of movie spacesuits, movie and TV show spacesuits, including Gravity, Alien, Star Trek, Prometheus, The Martian, Moonraker, Stargate Atlantis, Armageddon, 2001.
One layer of cloth doesn't cut it in space.
Moonraker is almost like Barbarella space.
Exactly. And Outland, Moon, and Sunshine. And anyways, basically talks about how practical they are, impractical, and about the designs. And it's a really...
I did see that. I didn't read it. I did come
I'll have
across
to check that
article.
out. That sounds like a great article.
Yeah. And again, it's a short video, but she like I said, it's interesting. It's about maybe about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, but covers a lot of ground, and it's a lot of stuff we love. So, yep.
Cool.
Awesome.
I read an article, apparently in the mid to early 80s, before 89 Batman, Ivan Reitman was talking about making a Batman with Bill Murray and Eddie Murphy, Batman and Robin, and it kind of stalled because they could not decide who would be Batman and who would be Robin. I couldn't even imagine that. It was obviously going to be a comedy, but that would be just crazy.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, regardless of who played who, that's just bizarre casting.
Eddie Murphy was I'm trying to think. Depends on when in the 80s this was, but if it was like, I'm thinking 83, Eddie Murphy was still pretty young. I don't remember.
Right.
I think he should play Robin.
The thing to remember, though, is at this point, the only live-action Batman, other than the serials, okay, was 66 Batman.
66 Batman.
So nobody was probably looking at this through any lens other than very campy.
Mm-hmm.
And
but even in the early 80s, it would have been somewhat controversial to have Eddie Murphy play Robin. No,
As a comedy, I don't think so.
I don't
maybe
think
not
so.
as a comedy.
Yeah, and again, it's and that's one of the things that those of us who give Tim Burton credit for nothing, one of the things that he gets a lot of credit for is changing that mindset, is making it, there's definitely camp elements to that film, but he did make it more serious.
I would have rather seen this movie made.
Of course you would.
That might have set us back another decade on Batman movies.
I was just
we'd only be on
By the way, as a side note, this evening I saw The Batman for the third time.
Oh my God!
And it gets better every time.
How did you fit that in between work and recording tonight?
That's why I needed an extra 5 minutes. I also had to watch Picard afterwards. I got a 4:30 show on $5 Tuesdays, so I mean, it was $5. Why not? And it was just as good as the second time.
Really interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's Joshua's birthday this week, and he was saying to me earlier tonight, maybe we'd go see it for his birthday. I'm like, it's 3 hours, right? It's a long movie, dude.
It is a lot of commitment, but now I'm kind of watching it as I'm seeing it, and if it's still here next week, maybe I'll watch it again for $5. But it's like I'm kind of seeing it as like compartmentalized. It's like I'm kind of looking at it as separate sections, and I like it more every time I see it.
I've listened to a bunch of reviews on
huge length, way too long.
Yeah, on a bunch of the podcasts that I listen to about movies, there's been a number of people have talked about it, and it's so similar to the Indiana Jones thing. They're like, there's really, if he was there or wasn't there, it wouldn't have changed the outcome, other than maybe the mayor would have been killed. But other than that, Batman didn't actually influence much of that storyline. And when I thought back about it, I'm like, I think that's probably true, except in the third act. But the third act,
really
he sort
did
of
feel kind of
tacked
stuff
on
under
anyway.
the rug and everything. I mean,
yeah, but that was towards the very. But it didn't change the outcome.
He uncovered the stuff about. Now, I would agree only in that point. He uncovered the stuff under the rug minutes before it happened, or maybe seconds before it happened. There was no warning. There was no way to
stop it from happening. It's just that he was able to stop him from killing the mayor.
Was not able to stop from happening. He just kind of caught up.
Yeah.
I do think there would have been mass carnage in that stadium had he not been there.
Yes.
I think he prevented those guys from. So it's not a clear analog to the Indiana Jones thing. I think he kept those guys with the rifles from killing a whole lot of people, and then he led the people out at the end. And again, yeah, I do think that he was playing catch up through a lot of this, but
yeah, I think a lot of movies you could analyze like that.
Yeah, with the other feedback that was kind of echoed by a number of people was that it almost felt like the studio gave notes and was like, this is a great Batman detective movie, but we need more action, and that's why the third act kind of changes tone, and almost like they had to tack on a whole other 45 minutes or almost hour. Like, if the movie had stopped after he sort of figured it all out and they had put the Riddler in prison, and it had just been a detective movie, that would have been a satisfying movie in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You almost didn't need. Yeah, I enjoyed the third act, but it's almost gratuitous.
Yeah. Except that it completely changes who the character is. I mean, you take him from being this vigilante to being this this kind of hopeful thing. He's rescuing these people and leading these people out of there.
No, that's fair.
And that has never been the case. That has not been who Batman is. So everyone who talks about this being a super dark Batman movie, we're also presented with Batman in a way we've never really seen him before. At the end of this movie, and it changes who that character is. So there's actually lightness to this that we don't see in the other incarnations.
I still think they should have leaned more into the detective stuff. I mean, they threw a couple things, but I'd almost like to see like Sherlock Holmes stuff like all the time. Like they're looking at
I totally agree, and that's where
here it is.
Yeah.
I don't think they did it enough.
Yeah. There was, like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it a great deal, and like I said, and I think my initial reaction was very colored by not expecting it to like it. And in subsequent viewings, there's actually parts about this that I like a great deal. And there's some great fight choreography in here, and the car chase thing is just amazing. It's like,
you know who's amazing? Fanboy Collectibles.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are.
Check those guys out. Gentle Giant's got some statues. An Emperor, a Mace Windu. Interesting that he's popping up now. We can see him soon somewhere. There's talk.
Those statues look awesome. Really good.
Yeah, they do. Sideshow Premium Format Ahsoka looks awesome. Huge. Awesome. There's also one of those So-So toys. Todd, didn't you have a So-So toys something?
I've got some So-So toys, yeah.
Cajun card dealer. Geez, I wonder who that could be. But that you don't see enough Gambit stuff. That does look cool.
So-So are actually very good. They're better than So-So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So check those guys out. There's
one other thing I was going to mention is there's another Hot Toys figure from the Eternals, which
So if that's
looks
your thing,
amazing.
check that out too.
Looks amazing.
Yeah, that's that dude.
Yeah,
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Is that his
And
name?
if you pre-ordered your the Batman, you should definitely go back and pre-order the Batman's motorcycle, which came out a week later.
There you go. There's plenty of stuff to get. Hot Toys Pops and all that stuff. Check those guys out, fanboycollectibles.com. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Tell them the regular Joe sent you. Okay. More Star Trek. Where are we going first?
Why don't we spend... okay, I was going the other way, but we...
I know. I'd like to...
I thought we'd end on a positive note, maybe, instead of...
Yeah, we're going to talk about Disney after this. So
Okay.
Yeah. So...
by the way, there will be spoilers. So right
Yes.
now we're up to episode 3 of Picard, and we've watched all of them. So if you haven't watched all 3, stop now. Go watch them. Right? 3.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's been 3.
I would say I have a hard time imagining people watching this show and not keeping up with it. You know, I think the interest in this show is probably people who are just very interested in the show.
Yeah. I mean,
So, Todd, you had a take on this via text after the first episode. Do you remember what you said?
I think I said I find it more interesting than the first season, and at least the setup more interesting than the first season thus far.
Yes.
The first season just meandered and was slow and wasn't satisfying.
it started out
any level.
fast and then just slowed down.
Yep.
I mean, these first 3 episodes, we're moving places. I mean, there's a fair amount going on, right?
There is, and I'm pleased so far. I mean, it's a very different show than it was. I think the Borg Queen thing is interesting.
Yeah,
I think time travel's getting a little old, but I think as long as they do something with it and they do something right with it, we will see. I think the characters are fairly interesting. We'll see. Again, I'm very optimistic, and I've liked I've liked everything I've seen so far. There's obviously we've got to come up with a way of keeping everybody busy kind of thing, so everyone's got something to do, including die in one case.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're going back to old stuff like Q and things, but it's funny. I feel like, oh my God, we've seen Q how many times, but we haven't. It's just, if you're watching the show, Q always seems like, we had a couple slow episodes. Let's throw Q in and mix it up a bit. But,
I will say I found Raffi's reaction to Q very, very interesting. The whole, basically, you're playing games with him, and this is, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she seemed more pissed at Picard for even engaging with him, but it's not like Q gives you a choice either.
Well, but also I would think from the outside looking in, if you're not party to one of the Q incidents, it may be very easy to look at that way because everything ends up in the end kind of neatly tied up, and
that's the thing. I mean, that's the question. If you just, like Indiana Jones, just did nothing and wasn't there, is Q just going to come back and fix it? Or is it always Picard and whoever doing the right thing to get it fixed? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
every time he
and
showed
I like
up,
the Q
it was
stuff,
fixed.
so I was excited to see him come back in, and I'm reserving judgment at this point to see where it all goes. But there's never been an instance where they didn't fix everything. So it always ends well with the it always ends well, but with the looming I might be back, and we may go through this all over again. So like. I'll be honest, the part that I'm just stuck on more so than the Q stuff, because I like that, is just this whole going back in time thing again and having to put on the clothes that fit the era, and it just all feels so Star Trek 4 to me.
Yeah, and it's like current time. It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's just a little...
Right.
Just don't go back to modern time. I don't know. It's just a little weird for me.
The interesting thing is they have gone back to a modern time that when this time was originally visited in Deep Space Nine was the future. Okay? Because we've been to 2024 before in a Deep Space Nine episode. Okay? And it is going to be, that we're touching on those events. And that was the future at that point. That was 25 years in the future. And so I find that kind of interesting.
If there's any mention of whales or transparent aluminum, I'm out.
I'm hoping they throw it in as something funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, there's a whale show.
Or the nuclear vessels.
Part of me feels like, all right, we're not spending money. Let's just film it in modern day Los Angeles. Like really? Like, what are you doing that for?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's hey, I like seeing these characters. It didn't go off. Hopefully, it won't go off the rails like the last one did and get a little weird, boring. But they're on sort of an adventure, a mission. They got to figure stuff out. It's fine. I love seeing Seven.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Raffi has to lighten up, and Seven is lighter than we've ever seen her.
Yeah, Raffi belongs on Discovery so far. She's a little emotional and a little too many feelings.
Well, the other guy, and I can never remember his name. The
Rios.
Thank you. The scene where they materialized and he materialized in the air.
Oh,
that was great.
That was I gotta say, and they the others were just like light and kind of like and then she does this and this and then boom, poor SOB.
I just have a hard time believing that with what's at stake, he wouldn't have gotten the hell out of there. And I get that he wants to be the good guy and help this woman, and he's kind of fallen in love with her at first sight. But with what they're dealing with and what they're trying to fix, he probably shouldn't have hung back to try to help her.
His comm badge was on the front counter,
but that's not why he stayed.
He needs it though.
You don't know that.
See that much. He's only there for an hour.
But I'm saying, yes, I think he went back in part to help her out. But his presence actually put her in more risk, okay? Because she's legal, he's apparently not. He's by all appearances not.
Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, but I think part of it was he could not leave that comm badge behind.
Yeah, they're going to definitely have some human element to this thing. Yeah. It's fine. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm not trying to rip it apart at all.
It's not like, is it the greatest thing ever? No. Is it good? We're also, we've been desensitized by
the other show.
stuff.
I'm still adjusting to Newberry. I got to say, Newberry doesn't like things.
Well, but my biggest problem, I've mentioned this to you already. I don't know if we did it on the show or off the show, but Patrick Stewart, they're playing him older, but he comes across as so frail.
Is he real? Is that him in real life? Because I'm worried that they're working this guy too much. How old is he?
He's hanging back on the ship now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But that to me is, I would almost rather not have a show.
Of sitting down.
I'd almost rather not have a show than have a show that takes a character I love and make him seem feeble. And I know that he's, not, but they're giving him, he had a fight in this second episode, right? But I don't know. it might be one of those situations where the idea of doing it is better than the actually doing it, just because he's coming across to me as so, geriatric.
Yeah. I will say, they also phasered at least 2 people who were not directly threatening. Phasered out of existence at least 2 people who were not directly threatening at the moment they did it. I found that kind of interesting. So I guess
how did they phaser that this Vulcan guy, and he's bleeding? I mean, since when do you bleed except for in Star Trek 6 from phasers?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird.
They're made of tougher stuff than we are, apparently.
I guess so. Well, I know I've been saying it for 2 years practically, but all of my hopes at this point for Star Trek are hung on Brave New Worlds, because I'm not saying I'm not Strange New World. Thank you. I'm not saying I'm not liking Picard. I am saying I'm not liking Discovery. We'll get there. But yeah, I really have high hopes for this other show.
So Barry, do you think the Eddie Van Halen paint scheme is gone for good?
Would it seem that way? There's no reason they would have repainted it unless somebody told them they had to.
But he was officially in Starfleet then. That's why they repainted it.
Except that when Seven had it in the beginning, we didn't get a good shot of it, but it looks like, because he said, "What did you do to my ship?" It also looks like it doesn't have the paint scheme anymore.
Yeah, they had repainted it at that point already.
So
yeah,
God damn, means I got to buy it again. So I'll send you the Eddie version if I do. Yeah,
but the characters are good. Rios is good. Obviously, Seven is good. Raffi, I could take or leave. I didn't like her so much last time. She's a little whiny. I like the kid who could kick ass. I almost rather have Raffi be the one who died and him to be the one.
I know.
He'd be much
Vulcan
more
Legolas,
fish out of water, which would be much more interesting than her there.
The other doctor, by the way, I'm a little lukewarm on, the blonde doctor. She was good with the Borg Queen in the 3rd episode, but
I will say I am very surprised that we did not end up with the Borg Queen in her body. Okay, that's totally what I was expecting was going to happen. But I totally expected that she was going to be like Jekyll and Hyde,
that could be interesting. I'd almost rather have them give her some legs and sort of work her out so they can get her out in the world and just sort of be like totally fish out of water. The thing is, of all the people, that's what the comedy from Star Trek 4, like Spock had no idea what was going on. Even when Kirk and in the series, when they were in the olden days, they didn't have to drive cars and stuff. Even Seven is sort of acclimating to this. We need to see someone who's totally out of place. I would love to see the Borg Queen just like, throw her in a leather jacket and like a wig, and she just looks like some weird goth
I did love
chick.
the scene when she was crawling on the floor and using her spinal column as like a way of propping herself up.
That was pretty cool. Creepy. I'm sure they're gonna do something with her one way or another. It's again, there's got to be a reason they have her there.
I hope so, because otherwise it's just like, oh, we brought Q back. Oh, we brought the Borg Queen back just so we could say,
well, they needed her to make the time jump.
Yeah. So it was, a little convenient how they were just able to plug her right into Rios' ship. But
okay. So they're
everything is USB-C by then. So
that's true. Universal
it's all standardized. Yes. So they're looking for a watcher, and I'm like, really?
Is it going to be someone we don't want to see?
You just couldn't come up with another term,
Yeah.
It's like really?
Maybe it's going to be Stan Lee.
Yeah.
It's going to be somebody we know. I mean, could it be Q himself? Could it be,
Well, what was Wesley Crusher's character?
You do think it's somebody that we know.
But remember Wesley went off with that guy? What was that guy he went off with? It wasn't called a Watcher, right?
Traveler.
Okay, I knew it was a word like Watcher.
Well, there's speculation of who it's going to be. I don't know. Maybe it is someone we know.
What have you seen speculated?
I've heard Wesley. I've heard Guinan.
Well, Guinan was already in the first episode.
But Guinan lives for like 8 million years,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
What if it was Q? 400 years in the past. I don't know.
I bet it's something we haven't seen yet. I bet it's something that ties in, but we're going to be very surprised at.
Q is sort of living past, present, and future all at once, though, right? So, like,
he had to start somewhere. He's a stockbroker in L.A. or an agent. That's what he is. He's an He's a talent agent.
He's a talent agent. Soulless.
Okay, I'm going to go way out there. Okay, it's Benjamin Sisko.
Why would he be there? Did he go in the past?
He did go to 2024 in the past. Okay, in Deep Space Nine, and in this canon, they've done different things in novels. The last time we saw him, he went through that rift and never came back.
And he was the emissary.
He was the emissary. So
it's interesting that you say that, and they picked 2024.
Within that thing, they can live in all time periods at once. Okay, you remember from the first episode, why are you still here?
No, I don't. But
the whole thing, and that would be out there because he hasn't acted for.
It would be out there, but it would also be something that I would argue a large portion of the people watching wouldn't understand. You'd have to explain it.
Well, I'd be surprised by that. They did name drop him last episode too. So
interesting.
We'll see.
So we'll see. We'll see this Thursday.
Still liking it. Don't get me wrong, but
we're all liking it.
Yeah.
We're not loving it, but we're liking it.
So are we all caught up on the season?
I will say I am enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay.
I am too. I'm just a little critical of it, but I'm enjoying it. Are we all caught up on the season finale of Discovery?
Yes.
You all watched it?
Yeah. Before we go to that, could we just throw out one more thing and
Sure.
just in like one or two sentences? Okay, people, if you're not watching Raised by Wolves, I just don't know what to say, and that's all. I also wrap that up, and I am just like,
Oh, I'm behind on. I haven't seen the finale there yet.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had.
Nope, I haven't. This is, and it's funny. This is a problem we talk about. There are so many shows that I'm watching on so many streaming services. I oftentimes get through a weekend and realize, oh shit, I didn't watch that.
There's a new episode. I forgot.
Yeah, you
Dave,
realize you're
I
watching
do not
something you
recommend
haven't
that
watched.
You watch the show. I do not recommend it.
Well, Todd and I have been texting each other as we've been watching it because it's so out there and whacked.
Barry and I like some off the wall shit, okay? And like I kind of use Legion as a benchmark, and I don't even know what to think. I at the end of this, I don't even know what to think.
And
so
unlike Legion,
do not take this as a recommendation. But if you can explain what happened in this season, please write to us.
Well, but unlike Legion, where I always felt like, while I never really understood it, I felt like it was going somewhere, and I was on a trip, and I was happy to be on the trip with it. This, I don't think they know where this is going. I don't think they've got a plan. It just feels like they're taking acid and writing a TV show every week and filming it.
In complete agreement, Barry. And I almost would like to have this season removed from my brain because I need to stop thinking about it. So.
Well, you and I will have to chat after I watch the finale. I forgot about the finale. And it's funny. I was looking for things to watch today. I would have watched it, but
Upload is back. Have you guys watched Upload?
Has it started?
It started, yeah.
Oh,
I haven't watched it yet.
I knew it was coming, but I haven't watched it yet.
I didn't want to start it because I feel like it'll go quick. So I'm waiting to sort of. I've finished Discovery. I finished Peacemaker, which we won't. I mean, I did like it, and it totally redeemed me hating that character. So
right.
Like we told you it would. Good.
Yes, so that's good. Okay, let's talk Discovery. Now there will be spoilers for Discovery. It's all of season 4. If you haven't seen the finale, stop and
no,
go do something
else.
Yourself
14 hours of pain.
Just stop.
I gotta say, I've watched maybe the last 3 in the past maybe 3 or 4 days. So I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if you're not like paying a lot of attention to it and be like, this is Star Trek. It's like, I'm sort of watching, I'm not super involved in it. I mean, it's parts of it, it's the feeling behind it is just awful. The stuff itself is it's not the worst thing in the world.
There's some cool visuals. I mean, if you watched it with the sound off, maybe it would just be interesting background images, but you've got to watch it with the sound way up because they fucking whisper every goddamn sentence.
I am filled with a profound feeling of waste when I watch this. I look at the money they've spent doing this, and they are just flailing. And
they don't think they are, though. They are on a completely different mission than
Star Trek. Incredibly heavy-handed in every possible way. And it's, you can predict every single thing that happens in the show. There's nothing surprising in the show because this entire show is written around, just certain parameters that they're going to, well, not even just the feelings, but it's like you can watch the way these scenes are composed. It's so formulaic. You watch when they need input. They go around the room. Every second tier character makes one comment in turn because everybody's got to get a line, and then it comes back around to Burnham, and then Burnham proposes exactly what it is, and that's what they do. And thanks everyone, and it's like, it's oh my god.
But we've been saying that it was so much about that it felt like it was all about people talking about their feelings in therapy sessions, and then it got to a point where they were literally talking about their feelings, and it was a therapy session.
This whole thing was based on feelings. How did we understand the alien
through the course of? I mean. Honestly, these people need to be cycled off this ship and just like given a rest somewhere for a while. Because it's like every single person has some personal trauma that is getting in the way of their doing their job.
Including the computer.
The season, okay? And then apologizing for it and then told that they don't have to be ashamed of it. And, it's also apparently okay to almost destroy the universe if you're the captain's boyfriend, okay? Because then you just have to go like do some more. You have to do some community service.
You got to do like community service for a couple of hours,
and then you can just head back and hang out in the Enterprise again.
The general of Earth, was conspired with terrorists, but let's ask her to help us again, and then let's thank her for her service, as opposed to putting her in prison for the rest of her life
for a very long time.
Yeah,
and.
There's no consequences to anything.
There's no consequences to any... Well, okay, think about this. Go back to season 1, okay? Burnham, through her actions, started a war that killed thousands and thousands of people in the Federation, okay? And it's a lesson learned, right?
You didn't mean it, right, Michael?
Okay. It's a lesson learned, okay? It was interesting. At one point, I was reading one of the novels, and it was kind of a like alternate reality thing, not the alternate universe, but like a different timeline thing. And Burnham had not started that war, and everything was different. And for the most part, everything was better. It was kind of like, I'm like, wow, they just don't even, they're not even saying it was inevitable or anything like that. It was just like, no, if she hadn't done this, if she hadn't screwed up, this wouldn't have happened. Well, so we take this same person, and now like we're letting her make all the decisions, and no one is questioning anything. It's the one that really got me this time when she spontaneously decided that the entity was a living thing, and and like everybody else that was postulating all these things immediately just stopped and said, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then they just focused all their attentions on that. And it's like, really?
Well, right. And then just like you were saying before, Dave, the fact that the way that you could communicate with this new species that they'd never met before was by projecting feelings onto it. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
let's really
sums
drive
up the show.
the point of feelings home on this one.
And it's very complicated and very hard to do until the end of the episode when they're
when
just
it was
throwing out
easy.
paragraphs at
Throw
a
out
time.
paragraphs. I
Yeah.
was thinking the same
And
thing.
it's just
Throwing
like,
out paragraphs
and by the way,
of
tell
stuff.
them I would like a cherry on top.
And everyone has to say their feelings. And the guy who basically almost destroyed the galaxy has to get his feelings out. Discovery is the participation trophy of Star Trek. That's exactly what it is.
You have nailed it. You have nailed it. Okay. And
Everyone gets a little statue. Whether you got hit by chunks of freaking shit falling down from the ceiling and you had one line, or you almost destroyed everybody, you still all get the same trophy.
Pretty much.
It is the validation Star Trek. It really is. And I gotta say, it just, I talked a few months back about an article I read, excellent article that I read that basically said, why so many Star Trek fans don't connect to Star Trek is because a large swath of Star Trek fans are still like middle-aged white males, and apparently they don't exist in the future. We don't even see them in the background.
There is one middle-aged white dude in the whole. Well, that's not true. I mean, no offense, middle-aged straight white dude.
Yeah. But I'm
There's
saying
It's the Admiral, and that's it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Well, and this show for me has just deviated so far from the core excitement that I used to get watching Star Trek. I know there's action in this, but it's so buried under all the other bullshit that it doesn't even feel exciting and fun. There's not a lot of fun in this show.
If she had, in the reality of what she should have done, if she had, first of all, the dude stole whatever, and you saw them on the freaking gambling planet in episode whatever, second episode of the second half of the season. You could have gotten them right there. You could have stunned them. You could have done anything, but you didn't do that because we don't do that. At this episode, the last episode, she should have killed both of them and blown up their book ship. That's the right thing to do.
But the fact that Book got they couldn't save him in the transport, it was just like, I was like, oh yeah.
And then
they'll
saved.
bring him back in the last 5 minutes.
I was actually so disappointed that they brought him back like that. I mean, he's not like I care about that character anyway, but it would have been more fitting if, like, they tried real hard, but they couldn't get him. Then, but the aliens had him in their pattern buffer, and they just brought him back. Like, that was, come on.
It's just, everything, that's all, everybody gets what
could
they
we
want.
bring back all the people from Quajon? No, we can't.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Well, so here's a question I have, and I am certainly no scientist, but one of the dumbest things that ever happened in Star Trek to me was in Star Trek V, where they go to the edge of the galaxy, and there's the Great Barrier. And then in this, they had at the edge of the galaxy. Do we really believe that there's a impenetrable barrier at the edge of our galaxy separating us from the next galaxy?
This has been in Star Trek since the second pilot.
I know, but
Yeah, I don't.
There's been a lot of other things that they've dropped because they didn't make sense after 50 years. This was one of those things. Like, I was waiting for God to be on the other side of it. I mean, it was so ridiculous.
Who's God though? Everyone has to have their own God there.
It would be whatever you'd see. So
anyway,
but there would be a checklist to make sure that all gods are represented.
You know what else I really got hung up on? The fact that Book's ship was able to attach to the bottom of Discovery undetected and fly through warp attached like that. Like,
Barry,
and
just be glad just be glad that ugly ass ship got blowed up. Okay,
I know.
So
I always hated that ship too.
Yeah, it's just really. I mean, there's so many people who should have been executed for treason in this.
And it's funny because the last couple of seasons of this season and the previous season both ended in a way that I looked at the very ending and went, boy, they could end the show here. And like, there was no cliffhanger. There was no. I know they're already committed to another season, which I'm literally thinking I might not watch. I texted you. I'm ready to just be done with this show.
Yeah, there was a lot of effort into wrapping things up neatly there, and we'll see.
Strange New Worlds has to be good because I don't
better
want to
be
not
good.
watch Star Trek.
It's got to be good.
They've got to really just go with core. They've got to. That era of Star Trek is, fighting and aliens and green chicks and green dudes.
It
if
needs
that's
to go
what
back
you're
to
into.
Wagon Train in Space.
They got to do
This
that,
is
not
that.
this sort of let's all feel good about ourselves.
And this, the other thing with
computers
this is
get feelings.
because every season of this show has to be a season-long arc. It just has become so predictable.
But we've watched 4 seasons of this now, and every single season we've said we didn't like it. There wasn't a single season of this that we all unanimously were like, that was great Star Trek. How many more seasons of this do we want to put ourselves through?
I will say this. I think like visually the show gets better every season and tonally it gets worse. Okay? Honestly, I have less problems with the first season than I did way back then. And I have...
But that's because it's gotten worse.
Other than it going on way too long was actually not that bad. But this is a season of people of supposedly high functioning people sitting around talking about their feelings endlessly. Every single episode we sideline somebody. I feel so bad for the doctor on this ship. It's like he just must want another job.
Well, that's why he's ready to freaking jump out the window.
And
He's just had it with everybody.
And then we have to start giving the computer counseling.
That's just nonsense. It's just nonsense.
So, also, and now this is this is one thing I have not been able to get past. Okay, in 1968, we knew what to do with a computer that tried to take over the ship. Okay, that decided that it was going to change the mission parameters to suit its needs. Okay, we unplugged the frickin' thing. Okay, you're telling me that 2,000 years in the future they can't figure this out? That it's just that it's not a bad idea when the first time the ship decides its ideas are better than your ideas, that you shouldn't just stop. I got a better idea. Let's give it a name.
Okay. Yeah, let's let it explore
and let's invite it to the away missions. What do you mean?
Let's pick its own name and then just go from there. It's like,
I had high hopes going into the second half of the season that, this, race that was threatening them was going to be this formidable thing that they were going to have to do battle with, and instead it was this entities that didn't realize they were doing harm, and when they found out that they were hurting people, they were so sorry. Well,
you're that advanced and you don't know you're killing people.
Did not realize you were stuck to the bottom of our shoe.
Yeah, I wanted a battle, and instead it was they solved the problem with feelings,
and it was a diplomatic solution thing, and the problem ended up being the 2 guys in the ship that had gone rogue. So, yeah,
Kirk always buried his feelings. That's what you're supposed to do with them. You don't show them, you bury them. Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway. Okay.
And bang green
Let us know what
chicks.
you think.
There needs more green chick banging in this
Even
show.
the Orions are ugly now. What happened to the Orion people? They used to be good looking. I don't know.
Hey, but Tilly's back.
That's the thing. Except for Tilly, who's annoying. I like Burnham. I like the actress. I like some of the other people. Doug Jones is good. I think Stamets is good. Even Doc. But they're just giving shit to do.
I know, and I know I keep harping on it, but there's just so much whispering in the dialogue. Like every scene, I've literally started putting the subtitles on. Because sometimes I watch it like fairly early on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and I don't want to be blasting it in my house. But you should be able to hear what they're saying without having to put the subtitles on. It's frustrating to me.
Were any of you really jazzed to find that Saru is dating now? I mean that.
Well, Saru has feelings too, Todd.
We had 15 minutes of every episode for the last 6 episodes devoted to that, and it was like the ship and the universe are in peril. And he's taking time out to talk to the doctor about whether or not he might have missed a shot.
I know, and even the woman is like the whole universe
Oh
is
my
at
God.
risk, and like, oh, I understand you don't like to engage in relationships. Like,
he's a
yeah,
grown-
I'm trying to save the world here,
He's
buddy.
a grown-up of his species. He's not a child. So he doesn't understand that, she might be, like, not showing him affection in times of, like, danger just because she's, like, trying to, focus on the mission. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess
Okay.
he might be thinking like he was going to get one of those end of the world things in.
Maybe.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like, and that's always awkward. After.
I'll
Well, the
say it.
Vulcans are not easy to get, I'm sure. There's
No,
a whole
but
thing, a whole
I'll
song
say
and
it.
dance.
Discovery
I'm sure.
sucks. It just does. It's just not a good show.
Yeah. Oh God, I wish I could defend this show. I can't. I mean, yeah. Yep.
And if you're out there listening to this and you feel differently, I genuinely would love to know what it is that you are finding good about it, because I genuinely would like to hear that. Opposing
I watch these
perspective.
scenes where, like I said, we go around and we make sure that every single one of the supporting cast members has a single line, because that's exactly what it is. And I wonder, like, whether they get a bunch of dialogue and this is just editing, and they just said,
But they
okay,
didn't
well,
always do that. You almost never heard from those people
no, you
before.
didn't, or you heard from one of them in the appropriate place. Now it's like everything's a committee meeting, and everyone's got to, you got to go around the room, and everybody's going to say what they think, and you cannot run a ship like that.
But in previous series, not seasons of this show, but in previous series, when it wasn't one big story arc, you could have an episode that focused on a small number of the characters, and by the end of that season, you felt like everybody was represented. They're not doing that here, so
And
they have to
they're
give them
like-
each the one line just so that they have.
This season was like, okay, we're four seasons into this, and we have like 5 characters, and no one knows their names. Okay, so let's instead of like highlighting each one of those in an episode, let's give them a token line in each episode,
Yeah.
so that people can sort of start to recognize that
I
the
still
same
don't
people
remember
have been
most
here.
of their names.
I don't know.
It-
Okay.
it's- yeah.
Let's stop. Let's stop there.
Yes.
Because we can go on all day. We could be like the internet. We could just complain about things all the time.
Please, people, you got your 5th chance. Just next year. Just
But you know what it is too? I want to like it. I wanted to like all of these shows. Like, I was excited when they announced Star Trek was coming back, and then when they announced Picard, I was excited because we were getting that character back. But it just hasn't been, and none of it's been as good as I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Well, we'll see in May. Hopefully,
Yes.
they're going to pull this out. Go back to the roots.
All right,
we
so
were gonna-
tell me about your trip to Galaxy's Edge.
Thank you. So we did many things, but I've been there before. So Todd has not been to Galaxy's Edge at all, right?
Yes.
This was your
I have
first
not- I have
time.
not.
And all I did was ask you if you had a good time, because I didn't want to have the conversation via text, but I would love to hear your.
I was very, very impressed with it. It was a larger area than I expected. And honestly, I don't say I got lost, but a couple times I had to figure out like where I was, because it's they did a good job of making it look very Star Warsy. But again, there's not like signs that that are make it all that clear where you are and where you're going and whatnot.
Did you tear up a little bit when you saw the Millennium Falcon?
I got to say, it was very cool. I wish I saw it. I mean, I wish there was a point when there wasn't 60 strollers in front of it.
Yeah.
Because there was
It was
never a
very
point,
crowded. It was
there
tough.
was never a
when
point when there wasn't 60 strollers in front of
Yeah.
it.
The first time I went, it was much more empty. I mean, you could be
from
the
your
only
pictures,
one under
I
the.
honestly didn't take pictures at one
Falcon.
point because I said Barry and Dave took better pictures. Because there was the crowds just weren't there. I thought that ride was cool. I thought the Smuggler's Run was interesting. I Rise of the Resistance was awesome. It was terrific. Thematically, the two of those in Star Tours are actually very similar in some ways. It's just like they just keep getting better at how they do it. So I'm wondering where they go next. You go on board the ship. You're rocked, you're shaken, you end up in a different circumstance, and then I will say Rise of the Resistance was very, very cool. It was well executed, but also very Disney. It felt, once you got into the little, I guess, escape pods, it was very similar to a number of other rides.
Yeah, well, that's their new technology. Star Tours is, it's got to be 30, 25 years old, easily.
Yeah.
And then this is their new technology. So this sort of trackless moving cars, it's on the Mickey Railroad thing.
Right.
It's on the Ratatouille ride.
Yep.
And it's on this. I mean, I think that's where they're going with this stuff. And there's multiple combinations. So
it's the same ride. It's a very, very similar ride with a different theme applied. And I love the way they applied the theme. It was terrific. Very, very cool. I love the live action actors in there.
32 years ago, Dave. I just looked it up. July 12th,
is that long? I was there when they opened it. I think
1989. I just said 98. I meant 89. Dyslexia.
Yeah. And I like I said, I was impressed. It was very much what I expected, and a little bit more. Again, thought it was really cool. Tons of people there. Tons and tons of people there.
That's the thing. And they've changed the way it's done. So when I went the first time, it was you have to get on a boarding party. It's a virtual queue. It's the only ride that had that, and you had to get it on. Try to get on. I was lucky enough to get on twice. This time it's so they have this. I won't get into all the details. So this ride is. They called lightning lanes. It used to be the old Fast Pass. And then there's special lightning lanes that you pay for. So it's the same thing. 7 a.m, you try to get in to pay for this. It was like $15 a person to pay to get on the lightning lane of this. I didn't get in, and Todd and Karen did because they were staying on the park. So the likelihood of, if you're not staying in the park, the likelihood of you getting on a lightning lane for this is almost impossible.
Now, if you don't get on a lightning lane, is that...
You can wait in line.
You can wait, and I've been reading it's 4 to 5 hour wait for that ride.
It's been... I think the least we saw was probably...
2.
Just under 2 hours, and then the most we saw was 3 hours.
Okay.
But...
And I don't believe those are... I think it's probably... considerably shorter than that.
Well,
I don't think we were ever in a line that wasn't overestimated by 25% at least.
Well, it's funny because most of the stuff, like your normal things, like Toy Story Mania, we jumped on first thing. It said like 40 minutes, and this is like 8:30 in the morning. It was 15 minutes. So there was a lot of... But these things, the problem with... And so, I'll give you an example. So we waited... I couldn't get in any lightning loop thing, whatever, for the Ratatouille ride in Epcot. So I'm like, let's just bite the bullet, wait online. I think it said 90 minutes when we got on, and it was more than a 2-hour wait. Because these new rides, which really are all these... magnetic track rides all break down at least one time during the day.
Yeah, and I was just reading tonight an article about people that waited 3 and 4 hours for Rise of the Resistance and got on the ride and it broke down and it was late at night and they're like, sorry, they just took them off and they never got to ride the rest of the ride.
Both days we were in that park, or at least paying attention to that park, it broke down, which added to those waits. So the Ratatouille, I waited more than 2 hours. And there's one thing of waiting a super long line and moving. There were times we stood still for half an hour, and that just drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well,
but
so the fact that Todd got in on the lightning thing, did that help you and Mark and Pam get on as well, or did you...
No, you couldn't. They got in because we weren't linked together, and we couldn't be linked together because they were staying on property and we weren't. I mean, so I didn't go on Rise of the Resistance this time.
Okay, but you've been on it before, so.
Oh, I've done it twice, so and I wasn't going to wait. You know, it's
so
funny. It's
interesting that you say it though, because like when we were supposed to go down in January and we ended up canceling our trip, we weren't staying on the property either. So I'm wondering if I would have gotten on it or not.
It wasn't these crowds though.
Yeah. That's true. That was the week we were supposed to go is what they all say on all the Disney travel websites was the slowest week of the year at Disney. So maybe we would have been okay.
I'll give you an example. So you know, Rise of Resistance. Tower of Terror, it's been there since this place opened. And I went on opening day 32 years ago. There were 2-hour plus waits for Tower of Terror. Like, I've been on that ride.
Now, have they converted that to the Guardians ride yet?
No.
So it's not even like, California. It's a brand new ride and that's why the wait's so long. So same 30-year-old ride and it was a 2-hour wait.
The wait, I mean, the line started in places I've never seen the line start before. I mean, you know how you go up this whatever street that is, if it's Sunset, and then you see the tower, and then off to the side there's like the ice cream stand. Mm-hmm. The line wound all the way back there. I've never seen that before. We happened to get a lightning thing for that and waited 5 minutes, but
now Todd mentioned to me via text that you had to get a time slot to go into the store to shop. Was it that crowded?
That was a funny thing. So we got to Doc Ondar's where they sell the stuff and the lightsabers, and I'm like, what's this line for? She's like, oh, this is for Legacy lightsabers. I'm like, what do you mean by that? This is the line to be able to look at Legacy lightsabers. I'm like, oh, so I just get on this line. No. You go over there, you scan this QR code, you scan the QR code to get onto a virtual line, to eventually be called back to get on this line, to go inside to get on that line, to look at or buy the lightsabers. That's how freaking crazy.
So if you knew what you wanted, you couldn't just go in and buy it. You had to. This line was the only way to get a lightsaber.
Right.
Remember how it used to? Well,
you could go in the store and look at other stuff.
But there's almost nothing else in there.
There's almost nothing else. But you couldn't go and look at the lights. It was just bizarre.
But I've been to this, the last time I was there, which was 6 months ago or whatever, in August. You go in, there's maybe 10 or 15 people online for the lightsabers, and they're like, you got to wait online if you want to see the lightsabers. That's when you're in the store. This was scan the virtual code. In 2+ hours, they'll call you back to get online, to get in, to get online, to look.
What's amazing about that, though, when you think about it, is how many freaking lightsabers are they selling?
They are. I was shocked that they had in stock. So, I don't know, Todd, how many people did we see walking around with Darksaber boxes? It's a big freaking box. I mean, you saw
and there's nothing else like it. So you know what it is. I bet we saw at least 18 walking around with those things.
Yeah, so, and that's just when you're noticing it, because it doesn't fit in a bag.
Right.
But they had stock. I mean, you know.
Well, that's good, because I know earlier in the year I had been reading, because when I was getting ready to go down, I had one or two things in mind I knew I wanted to look for, and I was reading that while the one in California was fully stocked, that the one in Florida was like out of stock on everything. So it sounds like they've restocked Florida.
Well, yeah, so you know, I know we all. So I got I got the text of like, hey, you can come in. They did ask you how many people you have with you, but I'm like, Todd, me, you, and Mark will all go in. They didn't really care as long as you had a spot in line,
right?
I know Todd was looking for Obi-Wan, right, originally?
Right, yes. Yep.
And I think Mark was looking for Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's been retired.
Now you're saying Obi-Wan, this is the episode, this is the, Star Wars A New Hope Obi-Wan, or the
I don't know which one they had, but there was an Obi-Wan. I think it was episode 3.
Well, they're going to bring him back with the new show. Probably there'll be a new one.
That's what the guy said.
That's what I think.
He's like, it's been retired, so it's not like we're out of stock. I feel like everything that they had there was all the stuff that's still being sold. Like the Ahsoka, you have the Mandalorian Ahsoka ones, right?
Me? You're
Barry,
asking?
don't you?
No, I didn't buy them.
Okay, those are retired too. I think the Luke, Jedi Luke is retired. There's a bunch of retired, but everything else. So I went looking for Rey, and they had Rey. They had Darth Maul. Mark got Darth Maul from the Clone Wars, which is a whole different lightsaber.
Right. Yep.
You had Ahsoka from the Clone Wars.
Yep.
That's what Todd got.
Okay.
They had Dooku. They had Ben Solo. I think they had Leia. They had Rey. I'm trying to think, but I mean, they must have had just a ridiculous amount. I mean, there were people, and the funny thing is like I've waited on the line, looked, you waiting online, and you're like, I waited online, I got to buy something.
Buy something, yeah.
So I mean, they had what I wanted, so that was good. And then, so we're all deciding what to buy. So I'm like, I need Rey. I'm like, but while I'm here, let me look at the Darksaber. And the guy's like, well, you can only look at 2 items or something. And this is how crazy it is. So I'm like, so I bought Rey for me. I bought Darth Maul for Mark. And I'm looking at the Darksaber. I'm like, I don't think I need it. And then Mark, of course, says, I'm like, maybe I need to buy this, but I don't really need it. And Mark's like, is Mom going to let you do it? And I'm like, first of all, Mom doesn't let or not let me do anything. So that just sealed the deal. Yes, here, take my $650 for all 3 lightsabers.
That's funny.
So I didn't have the one I wanted. I needed a blade. I wanted a blade anyways for the 2 that I have.
Yeah, I got a blade too.
And then I looked at the Darksaber and I'm like, yeah, I think I might need this. And then we had apparently touched too many things. So I bought the Ahsoka ones without actually holding them. And but it's actually cool. It's one of my favorite characters. They're cool because they're 2 and they're different lengths.
Now, which ones did you get? Are they the Mandalorian Ahsoka or the Clone
they're
Wars
the ones
Ahsoka?
from the original ones from the original series.
Okay.
I think those are new now.
Those, yes.
Those, yeah. I think they had the squarish ones first, and I think they retired.
These are the ones basically she leaves behind at the end of the very last episode.
Right.
And like you said, so I know I love that character. We'll see how I feel about the new one as things progress. But this is, like I said, it's also I kind of have this thing in my head with like I want Anakin and his apprentice, Luke and Obi-Wan, kind of like there's kind of like a line straight through. And then so I bought those. And then after I left, I started thinking, I'm here. I should have bought the blades for those 2. Because those 2 should have the 21 and 26 inch blades. I think that's what they are. And so
26 and 31, I think.
26 and 31. That's right.
So you bought 3 blades?
So I have
altogether?
all 3 sizes now. Yeah. So blades are cheap. So
no, I know. I bought a blade too because I didn't have a blade to any of mine.
So I was thinking, I should have done that, and then I said, okay, I'll just, I'll live with it. But then they paged me for mine, because I was in line like an hour after you, because it took me that long to figure out what we were supposed to do. And Barry and I had been communicating, and that's when I said, Barry, if I go back into this line, and I had a narrow window to get in there and get out before Rise of the Resistance, I said, do you want a Darksaber also? And so now we all have Darksabers.
Yeah, Todd was like, do you want a Darksaber? I'm like, I'm not sure. He's like, I feel like all 3 of us need to have one. I'm like, you just spent my money. Thank you.
So
how are you not sure? I mean, it's like, you got to, well, they've made it hard to get, so you need to get them.
It's
because
also,
I have over 20 lightsaber hilts today.
But it doesn't look like any of your other ones.
No, it is definitely not like any of the
And here's
other
the other thing with this one, Barry, is this is going to be the hardest one to ship. So,
yes.
Whether you go down there
huge.
to ship or get on a plane or whatever, I had a way of getting it back without doing that, so that was good.
Yeah, I didn't like So I bought how many freaking things? I bought the dark saber. I bought the ray saber. I bought a blade, and Mark bought a saber, and his was big. And I'm like, I would not have bought that stuff. We just happened to get a cheap first class flight back. That was the only reason I was able to get those back, because I had basically unlimited baggage, and I had overhead that was all to myself. So if it wasn't for that, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so anyways,
so two questions. One, they literally told you could only look at two things at a time?
I think you could handle three things, and I think that's what it was. I think we did the dark saber, we did Ray's saber, and then there was one other one. Oh, and it was the one that Mark bought. And then he said, I can't let you handle more than three things.
I guess it gets hard for them to keep track of who's got what at that point.
No, it's not about that. It's really about time.
It's time. But I want to say it's like, how about like three things that we haven't? How about now three things we haven't bought yet, because we bought everything we've handled.
Bought everything.
Right.
You know, and it's like, so you're saying, so the fourth item I buy, I can't check out first. Anyways,
all right. So my other question. Just in general, you're saying there isn't much else left to buy in that store, or just nothing that you were interested in? Store. So there's not much in there anymore.
Other than they had a whole wall of those Luke Dagobah flashlights. Other than that, no, they didn't have. There was almost nothing.
They did not.
Because at first I went in after I scanned my thing. They're like, you can go look, but you can't buy lightsabers, and there's like nothing there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's turned into basically a lightsaber
store.
The thing that turns golden eggs into golden eggs of lightsabers.
Because I remember when I was there at the one, and again, it's already 2 years ago, but they had all kinds of statues and chess sets and holographic creatures, and there was holocrons and all kinds of stuff in that store.
There's not much else in there. And the little bazaar area had more stuff. But I don't know. They're like, why make anything else? We're just cranking out lightsabers and just selling them. I mean,
why not?
All right, so you see people walking around with like the big shopping bags. These things weigh a ton.
Oh yeah.
And if you weren't, you didn't have a place to put them. You really
if you were wondering what lightsaber you should bludgeon somebody with, we've definitively answered that it is the Rey lightsaber.
It weighs a ton.
Yeah, I know. I have that one. So did you make it into the cantina, Todd, or no?
No, you couldn't get into the cantina at all. You know what's interesting, and I don't think I had gone in before. Right across from the store, Doc Ondar's, there's this little outdoor seating area, and then there's a whole food place that it looks very Star Wars. For whatever reason, it wasn't very crowded, so we ate lunch there, but I'm like, I don't remember going in there and soaking in.
I didn't even make it inside room. There. That was
it's
by that
very
Ronto's
Star
Roasters,
Wars,
right? But it's
not near there. Literally right across from the store.
Okay, I didn't.
And
make
then
it
there's
in there,
these
then.
sort of. I hadn't before either, but it's a cool looking place. It almost is more Star Warsy looking than the cantina, or as Star Warsy as the cantina. And it's just one of those, 10 items you could buy, and you sit down and stuff, and there's all cool little seating. So that's something to check out.
Next time I go, I'll have to look for that.
Yeah. I don't remember. It's called, Docking Bay 7 is what it's
Docking
called.
Bay 7. And it was good. It was good. Once you figure out you want to pre-order, you want to order with the app, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. But
well, I'm glad you guys got to do it.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was very much, from talking to you guys, it was very much what I expected, but nothing compares to actually standing there, as you guys both well know. I mean, you're standing there and you're like, holy crap, this is just like Star Wars, but with 700 people with strollers
and no legacy characters.
It needs to be. Yeah, I saw two Chewbacca's and two Reys. One Rey looked better than the real Rey. She was really looked the part and was really cute, and then one looked completely wrong.
Yeah.
She had a very obvious wig on and everything.
Yep.
And then there were stormtroopers, and Kylo Ren was there. I don't know if there's anyone else.
I would say they've got to figure out soon what they want to do about the era they set this in. And I think honestly you could divide that up into 3 zones very easily and have, you know, like classic era, sequel era, and Mandalorian era, and without much effort. And you know,
yeah, I mean, the original designs even had a third ride that they kind of scrapped. So like, there's a space for it. They could, and it was, I think it was supposed to be like a speeder bike kind of ride.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yep.
But they were leaned into that era for whatever reason.
But
and they doubled down on it with the Star Cruiser. So,
well, that's funny. You know, one thing is, I do feel like when they, you know, it's not like they designed this 6 months ago and then built it. They designed this like 5 years ago with the idea of like, oh my god, the sequels are going to be the greatest thing ever,
Right.
and everyone's
I
going
think
to live with the sequels and blah blah blah. We were driving to, I don't remember. I think we were park hopping from Magic Kingdom back to Hollywood Studios, and there is a turnoff for Galactic Cruiser. I'm like, let's just go in there and see what the story is. So we drive around, we go around, and then this woman stops us, and I'm like, oh, I just want to go in and get, is there information I can get? You know, and she's like, it's not open yet. So I don't know if you could drive into where the Galactic Cruiser is. And
it is.
I could
when
not.
You were there, it is open, by the way. So that was untrue.
That's interesting. Maybe that's what you. I don't know.
I've watched a lot of you. I've spent more time than I should have watching YouTube videos from people that have been on it, and not just that first week where it was all influencers and stuff. They've done a number of trips with like real passengers already, or real, you know.
Yeah. So I don't know what she was talking about, but
in those videos, Dave, people have said that it is underwhelming when you pull up there because like they didn't do a good job of hiding. Like when you pull up, you see like the backs of parts of Galaxy's Edge. And,
oh, you totally do. You see that from the road.
Yeah.
You see, like they should have really dressed up the back.
Well,
of
that's what
Galaxy's
these people were saying. Like they should have at least just put in trees or something to help block, to give you some better sense that you're not in the back of behind the theme park.
I did not see the building for this cruiser. If it is the building I saw, it looks just like a warehouse.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't
There's
know.
an area that
and
there's
it was
a
not
covered area
giant
that
either.
cars pull up to, and then they unload you and take your bags out of your car, and then they park your car for you. They valet park your car for you, and it's very unassuming.
Well, that's nice.
I wonder if it's underground part. I'm sure part of it's underground. Like there's a lot of, you know, so much of Disney is underground.
And
but
what do they
anyway.
whack you to stay there?
It depends on the type of room you get and how many are in your party, but figure a family of 4, it's going to be $6,000
for 2 days,
2
for
days.
2 nights.
But what it does include is a special badge that gets you front of the line access to both of the rides in Galaxy's Edge, so it's worth the $6,000.
Clearly.
If you
There's
go
a
to
room that
Galaxy's Edge-
sleeps 8, by the way. They have some like suites that sleep 8. Like if at some point like the 3 of us and Daryl like want to go, or Brian and we want to do it, they actually have rooms big enough for larger groups. I've done more research on this than I should have.
Yeah, and we'll see. Anyway,
So
bad time to go,
we each
but
spend
always a
$1,250
good
bucks
time.
to? Interesting. Yep.
Well, the bigger rooms with more people, it's probably more than the $6,000.
No, but I'm saying, right? Okay, yeah.
Let's just go the 4 of us.
Yeah, that's
family
what
of
I'm saying.
4,
Family of 4.
Family of 4.
$1,500 a person.
Todd will sleep in a bunk bed.
Hey, done it before.
Yeah. Anyway, always a good time.
Yep.
Too crowded.
Yep.
Pick another time.
Yeah.
It was just
Oh my
nuts.
God, it's very crowded and
And it was hot too. I mean, it's freaking March. It felt almost as hot as when I've been there in August.
Yikes.
So you never know with Florida weather.
I know. I was so bummed we didn't go in January because it was like 50s and 60s that week, and so it would have been cool and not crowded and would have been great. But you know,
Yeah, I think I've been told we're never going in March and we're not going in August again because it was. I mean, it was a little hot. It was like the difference between the 90s is humidity and no humidity. So not right now. There's no humidity, but in August it's like 100% humidity and it's 98.
I've been there in
degrees.
August. I'll never do it again.
Yeah, it's.
I've
tough,
been there in July twice. It was bad.
Yeah, I've been there August a bunch of times. So I think next January is when I'm going again. I'm not going.
Well, we may have to plan around that, and we'll go with you.
Yeah, and the freaking traffic. We stayed at the place, the place we stay, which is fine. The traffic was ridiculous back and forth at any hour of the night. I'm either staying on the grounds or at that other place. I'm not making that trek again. It's getting worse.
We stayed at the Swan. That was great.
Yeah.
So
they built out more of that whole freaking I-4. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
All right.
So there's a lot of Star Trek, a lot of Star Wars. We covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, considering we wanted to do a short show, there was a lot of show this week.
I know. Sorry. So we'll do something else next week. What are we doing? We don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we always do.
Yeah. There's probably a collection of all these other shows that are starting to come out or have just finished that we got to dig into.
Yeah, I've been watching all kinds of stuff, so we'll have to do a what are we watching show soon.
Yeah. So we'll do that next time. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
thanks for listening.